All right, guys. I just want to start by, thanking our fans. This was the last day that they come out and everything. We tried to get as many open practices as we could, and the support was tremendous. I mean, as you guys probably can tell, we never lacked of any fans being out, and I think the last day was just as many as the first, and it was really special. So, with that, any questions?
We talked to Baker. He said he'd like to play at least a half on Friday night.
He
Are
did.
you gonna? Yeah,
Okay. Everybody's got an opinion on that now, right? Yeah.
So are you gonna let him?
You're trying to circumvent the system here, aren't you?
I'm just telling you what he said.
All right, I'll let him think that. So.
Are you ready to tell us how long guys are going to play? Last time we see you, Freddie.
I know, that's the point.
The secret is the point?
No, it's not the secret. I mean, we're going to play our guys some, and I don't know how long yet. We've had a good camp. It's been a good physical camp. These guys have embraced the fact that, they feel like they've been doing some things probably that other teams haven't been doing. And but again, it doesn't matter until you start playing games. So I recognize that. I recognize the fact of what we do 2 days before a game, in the preseason even, and understand how that can affect someone's body. So that's more so than anything else. That's why I've approached training camp the way we did. And, I'd like to get our work done right now in a controlled environment. So to see how much better we can get on a day in and day out basis. This week's a little different because you're definitely not going to do it next week. So we'll see. Some of it factors in on how guys are feeling, little nicks and bumps that they may have because they've got nicks and bumps. I mean, we've had a physical camp. So you just got to factor all those things in and then make a determination. So I'm really not trying to avoid the question. It's just I don't have all the answers yet because I don't know. A guy can feel totally different on Friday than he did on Wednesday.
But you're not sitting out the starters by choice. You know what I mean? You could have just said we're shutting down everybody for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's going to be a player-by-player basis. A certain player may need something different than another player, so we try to, make everybody feel special.
One of the things you notice watching you work camp is, you're always talking to somebody different. And I assume that's one of the big different things about your job. You have to know way more people and communicate with way more people than you ever did before. How do you remember everybody's name, and how is that, complication of having to cultivate so many relationships?
Well, the quarterbacks will tell you here, and the quarterbacks in Arizona, and they will tell you my memory is impeccable. So I try to tell my wife that too, and she doesn't really believe me anymore. But yeah, I don't know. You're around a group of guys so long. I just know their name, their first names too, not last. That's a pet peeve of mine to call someone by their last name. So you guys remember that, all right?
Freddie,
Just kidding.
What do you hope?
I'm not kidding. But, excuse me.
Besides health, what are you hoping to accomplish Friday night?
I just want to see consistency on how we compete. That's all. Sometimes you can't dictate the scoreboard, but you can definitely dictate on how you compete, how you prepare, and how you approach the game. And those are the things I want to judge. It's not necessarily the scoreboard.
Freddie, camp is over and the season's a few weeks away. What's the unfinished business to settle before this? You can talk in generalities if you want.
Okay. I think, we've still got some spots that need to be earned and won. And if you're trying to win a spot, you have to also say that there's some spots that could be lost. But at the end of the day, we've got 4 practices and 2 games left now. And the sense of urgency with everybody surrounding the organization needs to increase. And I think it has to a certain extent. So it's just continuing to build on what we do, get the legs under our guys. I know at some point in camp, they probably didn't think this day was ever going to get here. But I made them a promise that I would have them ready to play from having their legs up under them, and I'll do that.
What do you think your biggest accomplishment this camp was?
I think we, the beginning stages of becoming a team, being in it together, holding each other accountable maybe a little bit more than we did before, which are all things that's a necessity moving through an NFL season and into, a week-by-week basis.
I heard you say that this goes back to the running a really physical camp, and I heard you say that you wanted guys to have to practice banged up because that's what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
Where does that philosophy kind of come from? Is that something you were always taught, or?
Well, I think a couple of different guys I've coached for, that has been their philosophy. That was Coach Parcells' philosophy. That was Coach Saban's philosophy. I didn't coach with him in the National Football League, but you could probably go down to Tuscaloosa, Alabama right now and see how they're practicing. And we're not the only ones in the National Football League doing this. Maybe the only ones you guys know about or that advertise it, because in some places this is the norm. This isn't the exception. We're trying to make this the norm for us and how we prepare and how we practice on an everyday basis. That's the whole point of all this, is we have to raise our norm up a level. It can't stay where it's been. You continue to do the same things over and over, and you're going to get the same results. And I go off that philosophy.
So what I hear you saying, basically is that you believe you have established the culture that you need to take you through the rest of the season in order to the Super Bowl, right?
We will find out. The proof's in the pudding, So we'll see. I think we've got a good start, but I think that's an ongoing, continuing, building. Cultures just don't happen. Cultures happen by continuing to stack chips on top of each other and then having success with it. And then when you have success with it, it's easier to continue to stack those chips. So, we'll see.
Hey, Freddie,
I do think these guys have bought in to a certain extent, but I think we need to keep coming,
I apologize. Baker said he reached out to Daniel Jones yesterday to kind of clear the air. You know Baker much better than we do. Is that not surprising to you that he would want to make that kind of gesture?
That's what I'd fully expect him to, because, he wanted to make sure it was interpreted properly, and I would too if I were him.
Do you think some of what Baker's persona has become gets distorted or misconstrued by people, the kind of kid that he is?
I think definitely. I would, beyond a shadow of a doubt. If you have a perception of someone and they say something that can be interpreted a certain way that would benefit your perception of that person, then of course you're going to perceive it as that. There's not going to be benefit of the doubt in the other way. And so yeah, goodness gracious.
Rob, jumping in there for
I'm sorry for him. All right?
We're all trying to learn the cadence.
beginning of camp, you said, how we act.
You go ahead. See, it doesn't feel good, does it?
You were looking ready to embrace the inevitable adversity that your season will bring.
Right.
I don't think you faced any adversity yet. Do you? And do you think what was the closest in this camp to being what you would classify as adversity?
I think adversity can be on an individual basis. So you'd have to ask those 90 guys in the locker room, see what adversity they've taken or they've encountered. And do I think we've faced some adversity? Yeah. I think getting on a plane and going to Indianapolis and staying for 2 days, the first time we'd traveled as a team, and going against a good football team with a lot of fans. A lot of them were ours. But, I think that was some adversity. Adversity can be either very small or very big, depending on what it is and depending on where you are as an individual and collectively as a team at that present time. So, I think we've found some adversity. Being in pads every day is an adversity for a lot of guys. So, collectively, individually, depending on how they treated it, it may be more adversity for them in general, but it's going to collectively be in adversity.
Is the Callaway suspension just adversity to him or to the team?
It's to the team. If he's a part of the team, it's adversity to the team.
What's Bruce Arians really like?
Excuse me?
What's Bruce really like?
I mean, I don't know. Depends on what time of the day.
It's funnier than I don't know. It sounds like you're.
Bruce is a good dude. you know, I don't know. I mean, I just saw him at Daryl's funeral, and you know, I played for Bruce. I coached for Bruce. You know, he's a good guy. You know, good guy to hang out with, good guy to work for. You know, I don't
It's
know.
kind of a
I'm not
fundraising
going to give you all the
standpoint.
secrets.
You're going to be looking at him from across the way this week, so
Excuse me?
kind of interesting to know that you'll be looking at him in different shoes right now.
Yeah, it'd probably be interesting for him too. So.
I know we just got here, but Braxton Miller, do you have a role and vision or what he could,
Well,
how he could contribute?
yeah, I mean, I think he moved around well. Could stick his feet in the ground, change directions, caught the ball well. Looked like he had some juice, so he hadn't hit that diversity yet with the pads on. So, but yeah, I mean, he looked good out there.
Special teams too, maybe?
Oh yeah, I mean, all hands on deck.
Freddie, what role did Sylvester Crooms have in your career?
Well, I told the guys last night that you know, I've worked for some great coaches in my career. I was very fortunate from that standpoint. But the guy that probably impacted and had the biggest influence on my life and how I approach dealing with guys was Sylvester Croom. And he doesn't get a lot of credit for that because of the situation that he went into in Starkville, Mississippi. When you talk about the first African-American football coach in the Southeastern Conference, that's huge. And for him to carry that on his shoulders during that time, I was very, very blessed to be a part of that. And to see how he came through the fire, per se, and still be the man that he is. I mean, one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. As a person, as an individual.
Would you say that, does this fall under the adversity category, or maybe this was part of the plan that we didn't know about? But Odell missing, most of team drills throughout this camp, does that go into the category of having to overcome adversity from your club?
Well, I think, we still got a couple of weeks left to iron out some little details and stuff. But just because he's not out there doing team drills doesn't mean we're not getting work done. Does it fall in the avenue of adversity? I wouldn't say so. No, I haven't really put it in those terms. But, of course, if you in a perfect world, you'd have 90 guys stay healthy all throughout camp. So every time someone goes down, there's to someone it's adversity. It may just be to the backup. So the adversity may be to those younger receivers that are getting these reps, and then the reps start piling up on them, which again, then you're into the exposure or exposed business to see what you can do.
What has Dearness done to catch your eye, impress you?
The first thing he did was pass protect. He's a great pass protector. He can change direction. He's got good body control and body balance, and he holds on to the football.
Did you know he was fishing? When he had like a year off because he didn't make anybody's roster last year.
Yeah.
Before the AF, he spent some time
Fishing?
on a fishing boat working.
Did he?
Like not just for fun, like
What was he catching?
good job.
Mahi
Mahi dolphin.
Really? In Florida?
Key West.
Key West? Wow. I did not know that, but I'll have to talk to him about that now.
I mean, just you
I talked to him a good bit, and I haven't never even thought to ask him, hey, did you ever work on a fishing boat?
I got it out of him. But just,
I mean, how the hell did you do that? Did he just tell
good
you?
question. Yeah. But it just shows, 90 guys fighting for 53 spots, and he's one of these guys fighting for a spot. And I guess my point is, you never know where
They
if
come
you're going to
from.
get your chance, because
Right.
he was out of football for more than a year, and all of a sudden he's bouncing around with you
Right.
guys.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's got a great opportunity in front of him in these next 4 days in 2 games. And, you don't ever know. You don't ever know where they're going to come from. You don't ever know who's going to show up. I mean, he showed up at a practice that, he wasn't even supposed to, or a workout day wasn't even supposed to be at. He shows up at rookie minicamp and we end up keeping him, but he didn't know what was going on. I mean, he really didn't. And the strides that he's made over the past, 6 months or so, or not 6 months, 4 or 5 months, has been tremendous. We've got several guys like that. Some of them get advertised, some of them don't, but you never know. I mean, we went to the Super Bowl in '08. We had 2 undrafted at tight end. We had one draft guy and 2 undrafted free agents, and another guy that was taken in the 7th round. So you don't ever know where they're going to come from, you know.
Stump was out here. What do you admire most about him?
You know, I would trust Stump with my life. Stump is demanding. He holds those guys accountable. He's a good X's and O's coach. He understands pass protection. He understands the technique of pass protection, the technique of running routes, and the technique of ball security. So, I mean, Stump was a very good player in this league too. So, I just like Stump as the person. I like him as the football coach, but I love the guy as a person.
Did you put Baker up to pressuring the kickers, or is that his thing?
No, I think that was his thing. You know, I think he's going to be at the game too, just like me. So.